This video became really long, you don't have to look at everything. If there's a specific element you're interested about, then look in the description for the different chapters. Hello and welcome to my video about Scene Scout. Scene Scout is a tool / program that I've been working on for a few months, and right now it has come to a point where I'm confident to share it with other people that they can use it, other AMV editors. But before I start talking about how to install it, all the features, etc., let's just talk about what it actually does, what it is. So Scene Scout, with Scene Scout you can search for scenes in your local video database by using queries with simply text. So why I made this tool is often with projects I ran into the problem that in my mind I thought there's a certain scene in an anime, but then I spent 2-3 hours scrubbing to the whole anime and I found out, oh wait, it doesn't even exist. Nice. Or if you're doing a very big project with a lot of different anime sources, it can become difficult to find just the right scene. I'm pretty sure everyone has run into that problem. Maybe it's not really a problem, but I wanted to alleviate that problem. And because of that, I worked on this tool for quite a while now. So let's just show it off. I've imported the show Haruhi, Suzumiya Haruhi right now, and I can search for stuff in the database. So let's see. I wonder, in this show, are there any scenes where people, I don't know, have frog costumes? Would you look at that? There are scenes in there with people in frog costumes. Very important. But what does the scene actually look like? Okay. Yeah, I could use that. But what about a scene with a gun? Okay. There are scenes that I could use. What if we do something more specific, like a girl holding a knife, knife in her hand. Sorry, these examples are very violent, but it's just these are iconic, right, for this anime. And then there's one other scene. I know it exists in the anime, but where is it? And it's this scene with a guy laying in bed with a clock besides him. Aha, yeah, that's that one scene that you see a lot in AMVs. And it's at this time code. Okay, cool. So, I mean, this is already pretty useful, right? But there's also the ability to export the scene. And then you get this window with all kinds of options you can select. Which you would also find in other conversion tools. So I'm gonna export it. Open the folder after it's done. Okay. And there we go. There is my file. And if I open it, yep, that's correct. Here it is, the video. And then I can import this into my favorite video editor and continue with my edit. But why would you even use this tool? Because to be fair, it's not that interesting anymore. Since in Adobe Premiere they already have something like this where you can search for scenes inside your Adobe project, inside the files that were already in your project. And since very recently they also added something similar to DaVinci Resolve, where you can search for scenes through text. And to be fair, it's up to you if you want to use it or not. Of course it's up to you, but there are a few points which maybe make it a little bit interesting. So first of all, it's free. I'm not asking any money for this. And if you want to use it in Adobe Premiere, well, you have to pay for Adobe Premiere. And if you want to use it in DaVinci, it's part of the paid version, DaVinci Resolve Studio. So this option is free. Another thing is that this is open source. So all the code is available. It's published on GitHub, Codebug, and GitLab. So since it's open source, anyone can also come in and submit their changes, their features. That could make for an interesting project where people can very specifically add features which are maybe interesting for AMVs specifically, because the big companies are of course not very interested in AMVs. And then third but not least, you also have that this is a standalone tool. So for example, I don't think a feature like this is available in Vegas, and especially not in the older versions of Vegas or other video editors. So then you can use this besides your favorite editor and still have the capability to search for scenes. What is also interesting for this tool / program is that I try to make it multi-platform supported. So even if you are on Windows, Mac or Linux, it should work. And that way, like for example, Adobe, you cannot get that on Linux, but then you could still use this program together with other programs. Before I will explain how the tool actually works, I want to give a few shoutouts. First and foremost, you have Google, of which the Siglip 2 model is being used. Then you have that this tool is a fork of KBL's Siglip 2 Navlex search tool. The difference being that that tool was really focused on images and videos as a whole, and this tool is focused more specifically on searching for scenes in videos. Then I would also like to give Miwo a shoutout. She made these cool logos for the tool. Also a shout out to Sarks, he introduced me to UV, which is used to install all the packages for Python and create an environment. And a quick shout out for Cryptic, he made the addition of the bulk exporter where you can export multiple videos at once. So how does this actually work in a nutshell? At the core of the program, it uses the Google Siglip 2 model. This is a multilingual vision language encoder. And what it does is, as a language model, you give it input and it puts it into an high dimensional vector representation. If you search in this database or in this vector representation, if you search with text, then it tries to find a point in the representation that's the most close to it. And because of that, this model can be used to find images or representations that are closest to what you're typing. That's kind of in a nutshell what it does. So since it is a vision model, just so you know, it does use AI. So if you are really against any AI usage, then it's best to not use this tool, just as a disclaimer. However, I would not put it under generative AI. This is more computer vision AI. As for the process itself, the user opens Scene Scout, the program, then they select or create a new database. Then they select the files or folders that they want to process and put into that database. And then you either choose the fast process method or the accurate process method. This is not about the vision model, but this is about detecting the scenes in the video. With the fast method, it uses the metadata to extract the video scenes. And with the accurate version, it goes through the video and tries to detect the scenes that way, and that's way slower than the fast detection. Then once all the scenes have been detected, it uses the Siglip 2 model to create an embedding for each scene, and that gets stored into the database. And once that is done, then the user can search through the database with text queries. What's good to know is that once the database has been created, it is persistent. So if you open Scene Scout again later on, you can just import that same database and start searching immediately. You don't have to process the files again. Alright, so where to actually get this program, this tool? If you go to this website, which is mark-shun.github.io/scene scout, then you get to this page with some general information, latest information, and a big button to download it. I'm not sure if I can put this link in the YouTube description. We will see, and otherwise just go to it manually. So if we click on the big download button, tada, we get the download. And it pulls this from the latest version from GitHub. So you can download it through that way. If I go all the way down to the website, then there are some links right here. And if I click on here, I go to the GitHub repository. This is where the code lives. And then over here at releases, you can find the latest release, but also all the information about the different releases. So yeah, that's a little bit more advanced. And then what's also good to know, it pulls it from GitHub right now. However, there's also a Goldberg repository and a GitLab repository. If GitHub becomes really bad in the future, then the code is also being pushed to these repositories. So that's how you get the file. And then after you have unpacked the zip file, then to actually install Scene Scout, you click on the install.bat file. That is if you're on Windows. If you're on Linux or on Mac, then you click on the install.sh file. A window pops up. First, it will start to check for updates if there are any. It's going to show there. What is good to know is that one of the requirements at this moment for the program is that you have VLC. If it did not find VLC, it will try to automatically install it. If that does not work, then you can also manually install it. But VLC is required for the GUI to show the video preview. Then, as you can see, you get a few different options on Windows, and this is specifically for your graphics card, because you can use your CPU. However, that's just way slower compared to using your GPU video card. So you get a few options, and then it's gonna install all the appropriate packages for that. So the options are NVIDIA CUDA 13.0. Well, these are the options at the moment, I should say. Those are for the newer cards. So think RTX 460, RTX 470, 590, etc. And then the older cards, the GTX cards like 1070, Ti, etc. Then you have the second option, NVIDIA CUDA 12.6. If you are on AMD Intel, then you can also choose option 3, which is a little less fast, but it worked for me. And then for the fourth option, it's there from the original repository, Intel Arc XE, and those are for the Intel cards. And then if you don't have a video card, or if it's not supported, you can also pick option 5 for Windows. And it should still work, but it's just really slow. Then if you pick the very first option, you also get a question if you want to install TensorRT. That's only for the newer video cards, but that makes the process even faster. And then it will use UV to install all the packages and automatically create an environment. However, it needs to download quite a bit, so this process can take a little while, especially for the Torch installation. So just let it do its thing in the background. And we'll be back in a bit. As you can see, the installation is now done, and 2 shortcuts have been created specifically on Windows. And then you get the option to automatically start Scene Scout. If you press yes, it starts. Afterwards, if you want to open Scene Scout, you can use the shortcut, or you can click on scenescout.bat for Windows, or scenescout.sh for Linux or Mac. Alright, so right now I'm in my Linux environment through WSL to show off what the other installation looks like. And it's actually the same, but if I open install.sh, you can see that there are a few different options. You have the NVIDIA CUDA cards. Well, those are only for Linux. Also still Intel Arc. Then for AMD, there's a specific installation for the video card, only for Linux. And if you are on Mac, you should pick option 5. Because even though it's CPU, then it will use MPS, and then it's actually pretty fast on your Mac. What is also good to know is that if you start Scene Scout for the very first time, then it will first have to download the actual AI model that it uses in the background. That can take a little while because the download gets throttled if you don't have a Hugging Face token, and I don't assume most people will have that. So it will be a little bit slow. Even the progress bar will hang, but that's not really accurate. I'm not sure why it does that. That's the package. But it will actually still download in the background, and from one moment to the next, it will jump forward with the progress bar. So just let it do its thing in the background, and once it's done downloading the model, it will always be available on your own computer, and then you don't have to do it again if you run Scene Scout the next time. So what is also good to know is that once all of this has been installed, downloaded, you don't need to have an internet connection to use Scene Scout. Once you have all the files, then you can just open it and it will work without an internet connection because the AI model is being run on your own device. Alright, so now that we're back in Scene Scout, let's discuss a few more features in the program. I'm probably going to miss some stuff because there's quite a bit, but oh well. So let's first just go through the whole process. So I've opened Scene Scout and I want to make a new database to store my scenes in. So I'm going to press create new, and I know that I want to process this anime, record of the Lotus War. So I'm going to copy the path real quick, and you can put the database wherever you want. It is an actual file. I'm just going to put it in the same folder as the anime. So record of Lotus War scenes. Okay, and then what you do is you have to select the files that you want to process. So you can select a whole folder, you can select specific files. I'm just going to go to the Explorer again, and I'm just going to drag and drop the whole folder into the program. You can do the same for databases, it works. And then there's one item in the queue. I can click on inspect queue and I can see what is in the queue to get processed. Alright, and you can also choose to have recursive on or off. What that means is that if you have other folders in this folder, whether or not it will also process the folders in there and in there and in there, etc. recursive. So you can turn it off if you don't want that. Okay, so then I have everything ready and I want to process the media. But before we do that, let's first look a little bit on the options panel. So you have the detection model, the detection method I just talked about, fast or accurate. If you hover over a button, you get some more information. This is not about the AI model, this is about recognizing the scenes in the video. So accurate, well, it's more accurate, but it takes way longer, so I always go for fast. Maybe this will change in the future. Sorry, it's a little bit late. So I'm done, and now I'm gonna click on the process media button, and we immediately get a pop-up that says which file it is currently processing. We also see how many files it has left to do. So let me see, I'm gonna open the terminal, which gives some more information. Right now we're seeing a lot of warnings. Yeah, that's because I'm using TensorRT, and that's giving some warnings at the moment. Ideally, if you're not using TensorRT or something else, you should not see any warnings. That's just a thing with this one. Okay. But you get some more information in the terminal, and then we can see how far it is with actually processing the video file. And it will not write data into the database until it's done with one video file. So as you can see, is it super fast? No, but I think for what it is, it's actually pretty good, pretty well. You can kind of compare it to converting your anime sources, but actually faster, in my opinion, if you use your video card. So as you can see, in 1 minute, it already processed one episode for me. So if I have 13 episodes, I can process the whole anime in 13 minutes. And that's with my GPU, right? If you have my GPU is the 460, so it's kind of middle of the road average. If you have something more powerful, this could be even faster. What's also interesting is you can let it do its thing, right? But I can also, if I want to do something else, I can also say cancel. Okay, so I canceled the process. However, whatever it had already processed, that is put into the database. So you can cancel it, but still be sure that that data is in the database. So if I search now with this new database file for guy with a sword, as you can see, we get the scenes from this anime. What about guy and elf girl on a horse? Yep, there we go. Pretty good. Pretty good. And then, well, we cancelled the processing, right? But then if I click on the file is still in the queue, if I press process again, it's gonna continue where it was left off, because before you start processing, it's gonna check if the files are already in the database or not. And it's just gonna skip the files that were already processed. So yeah, that way you can do this in batches if you want to. You don't have to do everything at once. Then another point about databases is that there's also a database management system, or at least a little bit of a database management system. So you can actually import multiple databases at once. So for example, I had that Hadoui database. Oh wait, I can only import it here on the GUI, so I'm gonna drag and drop the actual file. Wait, let me just show that to be fair. Oh, path. Okay, right here I have the database. It's 200 megabytes. I'm gonna drag it in here, and right now it's part of the database manager. So what that means is that now I can search over both databases at once. I guess, yeah, in my view, this is a good feature, because then you can create databases for different anime, and then you just drag and drop the databases that you want to search for, right? Instead of having one big database with everything, that might become too big. So right now I have Record of Lodoss War and Suzumiya. So I'm going to search for, what am I going to search for? Guy running in a school building. And I suspect you would only get Suzumiya then. Yeah, as you can see, you only get Hadoui, because the other one is a fantasy anime. But let's just search for Magic Wizard. Oh, okay. And then you still get Hadoui, of course, my bad. Okay, what about Guy on a Horse? Okay, yeah, then as you can see, you get the scenes from Record of Lodoss War. So this way you can be more specific with what you want to search for. Okay. What else to inform about? Well, there are also some more settings over here. This is maybe not very important, but you can also, if you don't like the light theme, there are also some other themes you can choose. Not very important, but hey, at least it's there. Though I do have to say, they all look pretty old. It's not very modern, but I like them, to be fair. What's also good to know is that at least on Windows, some of them feel a little bit sluggish. And on Linux they feel faster, but yeah. You can play around and find one that you like. I like this one, Radiance, so I put it on default for the whole program, but you can change it. If you change settings, it gets stored in a JSON file. This is also an option, open video in VLC, because if you have found a video source, you can right click on it or double click on it and you can open the video. And then if you have VLC, it opens it directly at the spot where the scene is. However, if you don't want to use VLC and you uncheck this, then it will open it in your preferred video player. But then I cannot pass the argument that you have to open it at this time. So because of that, there's this option. Then you have generate thumbnails. Well, that's this over here. Here you see the thumbnails of different scenes to quickly see if something is there that's interesting to you. Well, you can choose to disable that, and then the database file is smaller because they can become big. So for example, for this whole anime plus movie, it's 200 megabytes. I guess, yeah, I'm not too sure, but if I would not use the thumbnails, maybe it's around half of that, or 3/4. This is an interesting. Well, let's first talk about this one. Max patches. That's during the processing, how many patches it uses. Higher could be better, but you can experiment with it, and this is a good value. For the results, well, that's literally. Let me see. I also have Kaon and Trigon scenes. Results, well, that's literally how many results are shown here. So I'm gonna increase it to 100, and then during the demo we will see that it's kind of slow if you search for so much. Okay. So I have Trigon right now, right? So I want to have a guy that is walking in front of the sun in the desert. And now it has to search quite a bit because we have a big database, right? We have 4 databases, but as we can see, nice. Those are exactly the scenes I was looking for. That makes sense. And then if I change my search query again, for example, girls drinking tea, I would suspect Kaon scenes. Yep, only Kaon scenes. Yep, that makes sense. And as you can see, there are no thumbnails here, and that's because for the Kaon database, I did not generate thumbnails. So then it looks like this. You don't see the thumbnail, but the program does not crash. Okay, so what else? There's this button, GPU standby. That's because it uses your GPU, right? But maybe you want to do something else at the same time. So I have it open right here. I'm gonna toggle the playback real quick. So maybe you want to do something else in the background, right? And this does take some of your GPU memory. So with this option, there's a timer. If the program has not been used for 5 minutes, it automatically unloads the model from the computer. Or if you minimize the program, then it unloads if this is checked and if you're not on the CPU. So let's just check that. I'm gonna minimize this, and ta-da, as you can see, it unloads the model and it frees up a lot of memory, even though the program is still in the background. It transfers the model to your RAM, so there's a small increase there, but yeah, you have some more GPU memory. And then if I open up the program again, we can see that ta-da, it takes up some more GPU memory RAM again. So that's what that feature is for. And right now I'm explaining every feature, right? But to be fair, it's definitely possible that this will change in the future. So what I should have said it at the beginning of the video, but everything that I'm explaining right now is as it is right now in the program. It can change in the future. Then there's this, then you simply reload the model. That's useful if you change some settings or if you change your device in the future. Then there's cleanup database. If you have removed video files, and yeah, then there are orphaned, that's what they call it, orphaned entries in your database. If you click on this button, it will automatically remove scenes, videos which cannot be found on your computer anymore. Speaking of which, right now I'm gonna delete this, the Kaon database. Okay, and then I'm going to go to my Kaon folder. Okay, let me see, season 2, and I'm gonna delete this episode. So episode 1 from season 2. Then wait, let me go back. Then I'm gonna import the database again. Ta-da! And it should, yes, it automatically detects if you are missing video files in your database. Then you can ignore it, remove it from the database, or locate it again. So that way there is some protection, and it will not search for scenes or videos that are not available anymore, and you get a warning about it. Alright, I forgot to mention some additional features of Scene Scout, and I'm probably forgetting some more, but we'll see what will be in this video at the end of the day. So we go to the manage databases. Right now I have only one database in there, so let me put another one in there. We're gonna go for, let me see, the car racing anime, future GPX cyber formula. So what you can also do is you can combine databases together if you want to do that into a new file. So we're gonna do that. Already put some here for testing. New database, very good name. So we're gonna let it do its thing. Merging databases, of course this can take a little while depending on how many entries you have in your database. So we'll let it do its thing. Okay, it's done. It's also automatically added to the manager. So we're gonna remove these two databases, and this is just removing it from the manager, not from your computer. They're still on the hard drive. Okay, so now if I search for Dragon Football, then we should only get, as we can see, Inazuma 11 scenes. That makes sense. But since we combined the databases, it should also have racing anime right now. So if we search for racing car drifting sparks, then as you can see, okay, this is in the rain, a little bit different. Cool. As you can see, we only get scenes from this anime. So that works. Another feature that I forgot to mention is you can query with an image. So if I go to here, load, I have a few images here. There's this image from Chinibu. So let me first add that to the database manager. Let me see, where is it? We're doing it live. Okay, so I drag it in here. As we can see, I get an error that a file cannot be found. Okay, oops, ignore. And then first I just do a normal search, like yellow glowing eye. I don't need that many results, so I'll bring that back to 20. Search scene. Yep, that looks good. That makes sense. By the way, there are also some shortcuts, so you can also just press enter to search. Green eyes. Yep, that looks green. But we can also search for with an image. So I'm gonna select this image. I'm gonna remove all the text and then search scene, and oh, would you look at that? This is the scene, and it's in this episode at this this time code. So you kind of have your own trace.moe, local trace.moe on your computer. So that's pretty cool, right? And then something else that I think I forgot to mention is that you can not only select one entry and export it as video, you can actually also select multiple scene search results and export them all at once. Then you get the bulk export, and this is a feature that was added by Cryptic from AimVerge, thanks to him. So you can also change the template a little bit, so that you can see that the file would look like this. And then I would like to also add the date that I added this video. Export all, it's going to do its thing in the background. Oh yeah, what is also good to mention is you have the re-encode option and also the stream copy function option. This one is way faster, but there it's a little bit difficult to get the exact timing right with this option. So that's why the re-encode is enabled by default. But if you don't really care that it's exactly at the right spot, then you could use this and then it's way faster. Okay, open the file. And as we can see, it exported all these video files at once, and you can import them all into your video editor. Very cool, very cool. What's also another function, at least in the GUI, is that if I clear the image and then well, let's use a different anime database. What else do I have? Oh, yokai. Oh wait, let me pick this one. Classic, Terror and Resonance. Classic, for AMVs at least. So I'm gonna search for a guy riding a motorcycle or a bike. Yep, that's exactly the scene I had in mind. You can also filter a little bit with these tabs on the top. So if I click on score, you can inverse it. So score meaning how similar it is to, how similar it thinks it is to what you were searching. And you can also rescore. So you can, after having done one text search, you can add an additional text query over these results. And then, what should I do? This is probably not a good example, but then if I add road, as you can see, there was one frame where you saw clearly the road. So you can rescore search twice of your scenes for more accuracy. Then something else that I wanted to mention is that since it is a multilingual model, you can also actually search in other languages than just English. I do have to say the search results are not the same for every language, but similar enough, and who knows, maybe you can get some other results that way. So for example, I have Haruhi loaded again. I'm gonna search for falling snow on a guy with a green shirt. Oh, I know which scene I'm looking for, so there we go, this scene, I'm looking for that. Then if I'm going to search for it in my own native tongue, which is Dutch, it would be vallende sneeuw op een man met een groen shirt. Pretty similar to English, but then as you can see, the results are a little bit different, but still the same scene is in there. So that might also be interesting. You can search in different languages. And then let's just try this out. If I'm going to try it out with Japanese, not sure if this is really correct. You can see similar results, not really the same. Something else that's also interesting, of course, this really depends on the training data, but I do feel like that, especially for older anime, the older popular anime, the model knows a little bit about the characters. So for example, if I'm going to search for Haruhi smiling, as you can see, I'm only getting scenes with Haruhi smiling. So of course, this might be just because she was popular on the internet, right? And it's an older show, but it is interesting that it seems to work. Then if I'm gonna change it a little bit more, like Haruhi walking in the snow with a dark coat, ta-da, you get even some more specific results. So that's also pretty nice. That's pretty interesting, right? That you can use it this way. And then to end with the video, I think the project is pretty usable at the moment. But of course, it's still a little bit in development and you could run into problems. And if that is the case, like it is mentioned on the general information page, you can open an issue on GitHub. If you run into any problems, you can open an issue here. I'm not gonna guarantee that I'm gonna solve it all, but at least I would know about it. And you could also reach out to me on other platforms if you happen to have a connection with me on there. And if you want to add features yourself, or if you think, hey, this is nice, could you maybe look at that? Pull requests are also open, welcome, as long as you don't submit a ton of slop. Wink, wink. But for example, the bulk export, that was a merge request and got added into the program. So yeah, feel free to add functionality as well. And that's about it. I hope I did cover everything, but if you have any questions or remarks, you can put them in the comments or reach out to me, whatever. And I hope the program works well for you if you want to use it.